is this just fantasy? Well, that's kind of up for debate. So, this is Frankenstein by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. Uh, this often can be cited as the kind of earliest example that you can point to of like proper modern science fiction. Because there's some older examples and like of like some kind of you know, Roman era parody writings of people going to the moon and such, or sitting on planets and such. And there's some older things that you could say like, oh, that's a precursor, but it didn't inspire a movement in that direction. I would say this is a different state. This is the start of a whole genre. This is like, it's gothic romance. It's horror. It's science fiction, but in some ways, and in many ways, I feel like it can also qualify as in the fantasy genre. It's because I feel like a lot of times sci-fi is considered under the fantasy umbrella, and at least that's how we're gonna qualify this. But we're not even talking about the reason why I'm covering this edition of Frankenstein, and that is because it is illustrated by Bernie Wrightson. So Bernie Wrightson is an extremely influential artist for me, and I'm sure for countless others. And in the 1970s, he did a series of plate illustrations simply for himself, originally at least, illustrating Frankenstein just because he wanted to and taking all the time he wanted. And ultimately, it coalesced into this collection of illustration plates for Frankenstein that's kind of been unequaled since. And right here on the cover, we get, and you get a sense of the kind of artwork that it's going to be in this section. It's extremely detailed line work, and there's you could say that there's reasonable comparisons to artists like, say, Franklin Booth, or in some cases like Gustave Doré, like other masters of line work. But this is unequaled, I feel, his work in Frankenstein. And also it's just such a great vision, imagining this world. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through and check out these illustrations. And what's interesting is that while this one covers, I believe, all of the ones included in the most collections, there are also additional images that he created that didn't, for him, make the collection. And it's like kind of like offcuts, which are also equally as amazing. And I don't know if we'll have time to get into those, but we're definitely going to talk about, the art that got into this collection. And I'll also be not just using this book, but I also have a few of the prints in, more or less full size or even larger than full size on my walls, because that's how much I love them. So let's go ahead and get into Mary Shelley's and Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. So here we have, frontispiece here, 1977, Bernie Wrightson. You can get a sense of like the depth of line work to be expected here with pictures. He's humbly calling it pictures, my Bernie Wrightson. Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus. There we go. That's why it's fantasy. It's invoking mythology. But yeah, absolutely wonderful. Just the density of the lines, and also like how I'll throw in just interesting hatching in here, as well as lines that kind of just are, they're hatching, so they're all going the same direction and not crisscrossing, but they, just give it such a life that just like solid blacks, solid, grays just wouldn't quite do. I will note here that similar to Dracula, Frankenstein is an epistolary novel. So it is assembled from letters and journals, like journal accounts and such. So like it's not as not the same as Dracula in how kind of rigid it is in that sense, because there's still passages that feel more or less like narrative, but it is like first person. But yeah, that's just, gosh, man, it was just a style that really, that people really enjoyed. But here we have our first image, and I just want to note that I'm really happy that the first time we talk majorly about Bernie Wrightson, it is his masterpiece, or what's widely considered his masterpiece in his Frankenstein illustrations. And so this is an illustration of our sea captain as he's out exploring the Great White North. And the thing that really grabs me about this image is all of the energy in the sky back here. Just all like the conflicting lines to form these moving clouds, but also just you can feel that wind. You can feel that cold blast of air. It is such, and also just love seeing these little contrasts and how he handles the edges of these lines. Doesn't he just kind of cuts them off? It is such a satisfying looking way to handle those lines. And there we have his signature up here, Wrightson. Just how he did it. Yeah. And then what I love is that in the focal points, we get lines that more or less define the shapes and the direction of like the folds of the cloth and the wood grain. But like I just love how expressive these background lines can be, because I feel like, and also how he leaves some sections of it open. He leaves some of this open in here just because he's defining tone by density of line, and I feel like that also carries us through our focal point here, which is our sea captain. I voluntarily endured cold, famine, thirst, and want of sleep. It's a thirst for adventure. Another image for our sea voyage. Great waves. Look at these waves. And also a great rendering of this, those icebergs floating in the foreground and on the side here. Also, look how bright these highlights are and these clouds, and also just how he's using all those lines in conjunction. Just it's like a whippy wind, and then how solid black this gets, and it's just. When you're spending this much time on an illustration, you want to have a perfect sense of not only composition, but of the balance of light to dark. And I think, you have to. And it's clear, like, you must have done some, maybe, like, some thumbnail studies, probably several of them, to get the right amount of, like, balance in these images so that he, so just because, he's devoting so much time and effort in these things. So much so that there's an interview with him where, years and years later, where he's saying that, like, at that point in his life, he would look back at these drawings and almost not understand how he was able to do them. Like, he looks at them and is almost like at a loss for what he was doing to accomplish it, which, that's a sense of awe in himself, which I'm glad that he had. There was a little melancholy to it in that, like, I couldn't do these drawings now, but, like, what he did with them was he left a indelible mark on Frankenstein, period. Yeah, never saw a man in so wretched a condition. So here we get our first introduction of Frankenstein. Victor von Frankenstein. And just what a great introduction. Rough looking customer. And also look at this face in shadow. Look at that. It's all composed in line. But like it still reads, anatomically correct, and so so does all this. Just love the way he's handling all this stuff in shadow, and how he's using these lines in all the same direction. I feel like that just denotes, like he's drawing the wind, like he's drawing the air, and I just it's something that like I didn't think was possible. And just how light and bright this is in comparison. It was the secrets of heaven and earth that I desired to learn. So this is a young Frankenstein. So we're in that part of the narrative now. And I love that like he just chose this, sitting in a windowsill on a rainy day. As like, showing us this melancholic youth here. And great costuming and great sense of mood. I can hear this image. I can hear the rain on that window. And I could just feel like this pregnant pause from his, in the middle of his writing, doing his work, say. Just to stare at the rain hitting the window and listen to it. Like that's, and also just I love the abstraction of like the the outside, like the roof tiles here and the wall outside. Like it's a level of like thinking in like multiple layers, multiple levels that. I mean, at present, I don't know if I'm capable of doing, especially rendering in just black and white line. Man. Oh, wow. We continue on with young Frankenstein, where and it's just, I don't know, the choice of what images to render, I mean, in such a visually rich novel, must have just, I mean, both easy and hard, because it was like, kind of hard to come up with something that wouldn't be interesting to draw, but also just coming up with interesting scenes. Like here's him witnessing the burning of an oak. Yeah, just such great line work. Yeah, it's mostly darkness, and also that's a hell of a choice. If you know you have to render every single fucking line, choosing such these dark images, or like near dark, so that you have to see some of the light coming through. I mean, talk about giving yourself so much more work to do, but yet we are we're beneficiaries of this, and I just love the shine on the floor there, and the little light creeping through. And this really neat, like kind of stained glass looking design up here. So here Frankenstein is he began his lecture by a recapitulation of the history of chemistry. So here's Frankenstein at study. Love the designs. It's just so simple, but like it's so nice. Like in just puts you in a sense of place of the kind of opulence of this university. And what a great posture for this guy. And I also love like the grim faces of that hewn into this wood, and also like that there's only a couple of people listening to this lecture. You know, he's got his old-fashioned chemistry set. Yeah, and yeah, that's just hell of an image. You know, nice dark figure there to stand out, even though there's lots of darkness. Something that we're gonna see as a motif here is illustrating kind of like laboratories or places of work for Frankenstein, and yeah, they're all great. Look at all this shit that he made himself draw. I'm kind of angry, like, why'd you do that to yourself? But then again, I'm grateful because it is such an amazing image. There's a skeleton in here. The glow of this thing, this you know, gas or oil lantern. You know, the shadows cast from that oil lantern up here. So much difficult shit to figure out. But him devising his scheme. The stars often disappeared in the light of morning whilst I was yet engaged in my laboratory. So, got an obsessive person here. Now here's one of those images you've probably seen already. So here's one of those images that definitely circulates. To examine the causes of life, you must first have recourse to death. You know, what a great just incredible shaft of light coming through the feet of this corpse. And yeah, he's very consistent with how he renders the face. And I mean, like most artists, you know, figures tend to look like the artist themselves, and so it's very much looking like a young Bernie Wrightson, frankly. Yeah, I love this. It's great, you know, Grim Reaper up here, and this great cross hatching. It's just so intense. But it's a labor of love was what we're looking at. Because he was not asked to do this. He asked himself to do this. And then another classic image. So here we get the creature. Our first look at the creature. In process, right? I had selected his features as beautiful. Which is so interesting because the whole rest of the novel, based, you know, and his actions is based upon him being horrified by his appearance, and also the creature's life is shaped by the fact that he is not beautiful. Love this black void behind him, but so there are, I think, majorly, you know, two iconic looks for the Frankenstein monster, for the creature, as he's called. There is Boris Karloff and Jack Pierce's, you know, makeup of Boris Karloff from, you know, the 1932 movie, and so on. So iconic is that look, and that's definitely the most iconic look. But this is a second for me. This skeletal, noseless creature. And that's something that I think is what sets Wrightson's version apart, is that he was really considering the fact that, like, people react in horror to him everywhere he looks. And so he can't just look like a man, or like a man with scars and shit. There's something monstrous about his appearance. And what he settled upon was, yeah, like, he just took that nose off and, you know, really accentuated, like, the skeletalness of it, and it's horrific, you know. And then, you know, we get it's alive here. I mean, look at all, I mean, it is hulking, it's enormous, it's muscular. And here he's waking up his master, because his master didn't realize he had, you know, created life. What a great highlight here. And also, look at this great cross-hatching in here. God damn. You see the veins in the shadow there. Look, that is an incredible amount of control. And then, you know, the design on this drapery. And just how defined he gets with, you know, the scars and also just the musculature, just in line. And yet most of those lines, like, they follow a direction, even in him. And so that's just, it's an incredible amount of control. Yeah, and this is, yeah, he's, you know, yeah, he would, that shit would scare you if it came up on you in the middle of the night. So, yeah, flash forward to our Geneva countryside. Or no, Geneva's where he studied. You know, to flash forward to our countryside that Frankenstein calls home. Beautiful mountainous area. Just, yeah, such a great rendition of, you know, just this landscape. But, like, look at this fucking grass. I would break my arm drawing that grass. And then he gets a different texture for the dirt here, going a different direction. Just, man, stop showing off, Bernie. Yeah, illustrating a graveyard is no difficult thing for Bernie Wrightson. Look at these, just like vertical lines. And no holding line for the edge of the snow. Like right here. Fresh dirt. How dark her dress is, their morning dress yields. But then look at all these different headstones back here. It is it's just such an incredible amount of control. And this is like, yeah, like mostly white, but yet those lines are supremely put to good use. Wow. She died on the first approach of cold weather at the beginning of the last winter. A flash of lightning illuminated the object and discovered its shape plainly to me. So here's the reveal to Frankenstein that the creature is back, baby. And, yeah. Or at the very least, it's the hint of it, because at this point, Frankenstein's young brother has been drowned and killed, and it was the creature that did it. And this is like a flash forward in time, of course. But just, yeah, what a striking shape, because it's like it's too long, which again is like monstrous and distorted. And, you know, this gnarled hand here, and his like, it's such an amazing composition. And yeah, more of that grass. Jesus. Now here's a great image here. My imagination was busy in scenes of evil and despair. Look at this rain. Look at the ripples in the water. And to think it's almost all just vertical lines. And yet it's, you know, that is a rainy day. Gosh. And it's even got the haze of a rainy day, where nothing's too dark or too light, really. Now that's a hell of an image. She perished on the scaffold as a murderess. So this is like the woman in charge of watching his younger brother is hanged for her murder, even though she did not do it. Yeah, Look at those little lines in that dress. That fucking grass again. What a powerful image. And again, like a dark one to draw. Sometimes I left the boat to pursue its own course and gave way to my own miserable reflections. So this is just like a real emo part of the story where Frankenstein's feeling real sad about his brother. Understandably so, but it's also, dude, you created this thing and then abandoned it immediately. Yeah. Truth be told, I have very little sympathy for Frankenstein. It's all his fault. And he's an asshole. Why did he create this thing only to abandon it immediately? But yeah, look at these lateral lines. They're the haze to get to the shoreline. Yeah, and him just sloped so much that he's partially in the water. Wow. Here we are, and on the ice sheets. I mean, look at this great cross hatching in here. This blocks for the sheet of ice. And I love the height difference in the creature and Frankenstein. And then I love these lines that he leaves in just to denote the windiness. Like, you could just do it with, their clothing, like the drapery of their clothing, but no, he keeps it in there just because so it's not just sheet of black. But then sometimes he wants a sheet of black. Yeah, look how skeletal he looks. Again, he made him a monster. So this is the section of the book that really moves me, which is the creature's narrative. And Shelley is doing incredible stuff. Really, stuff that I don't know why people don't praise more. Maybe they do, and I just don't know. But, like, the fact that she talks about, like, his cognition when it comes to understanding the difference between light and dark and hunger and... when he starts recognizing other living things and the need for water and food and all this, it is so good. And then also, like, the emotion in this creature, because I love how articulate the creature is in the book. And that's something that really I want more, I want there to be more of in potential adaptations of Frankenstein, is this deep humanity that he has. And just drinking water from a stream and just the distortion of the reflection, but it's yet still there. He's crawling in from the shadows. You look creature-esque. I slaked my thirst at the brook, and then lying down was overcome by sleep. Now here's this great 2-page spread of the creature lost in the wilderness. These great, these great Franklin Booth lines back here. But yeah, we get this sadness of this creature. This big old coat. And all these amazing lines here. How dense can you get, man? So here's the creature being reacted to in a town. Gotta run from all these human beings who hate him. Grievously bruised by stones and many other kinds of missile weapons, I escaped to the open country. Look at this great setting. I mean, it looks like the universal European village set, from Frankenstein and other great old Universal films. But man, you know, just gorgeously rendered. Yeah, just such a deep, deep silhouette there. Running into the shadow, even. Yeah, here, look. More fucking grass. I often took his tools and brought home firing sufficient for the consumption of several days. So here he's being basically this like mysterious figure who cuts wood and leaves it for this poor family of, in the woods. I was filled with the bitterest sensations of despondence and mortification. So this is one I actually have up on my wall. And I'll show. But yeah, this is, I mean, the sadness in this image, is powerful. It's one of the things I respond to the most about is illustrations of the creature. It's that emotion. He just fades into the darkness there. The creature hiding in the walls of the cottage. My days were spent in close attention that I might more speedily master the language. So here he's learning how to speak. He's learning about people through just like kind of listening and observing through the wall. Again, like creepy, yet also a sense of desperation and sadness. Like he really wants to connect. He wants to, he wants to be social, because that's what it means to be human. The trial deprived them of their fortune and condemned them to a perpetual exile. So this is, related to the family that he's observing. And man, look at these lines, man. Just to add extra interest in there, and also just like to build in like the cold and rain. Look at this great horse. There's not a weak image in here. Just isn't. No, that's a lot of fucking grass. Look at that. I found on the ground a leather portmanteau. He's reading it, and this is, I believe, it's Paradise Lost. Which, what a book for him to read. And he identifies with the discarded Lucifer. I'm sorry, I'm just lost in these images because it's so beautiful. What a great composition, too. And here's another one. This is after he's revealed himself to the people, hoping that they would accept him, but they don't. And just has shredded, this is shredded papers, I think of Frankenstein's journal in his jacket. And he, cursed creator, why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turn from me in disgust? That is, this is also another one that I have on my wall. Look at the passage of light. Look at it cutting across him. What an amazing choice artistically. An angry eye sticking out. That, man, black and white lines can be magic. There he is setting fire to the house. Violence as a form of responding to rejection. But yeah, how hot is that fire, man? Look at that. It's amazing. Here he's being pursued by other people. Look at the shadow of the leaves cast on here with the light coming through. That's amazing. This guy's shooting him in the arm. No temptation to like go psh, or do anything like that, but we still get the what's happening there. And just look at the light coming through the trees and how he's rendering that in just line. That is, oh man, he's always paying attention to the lighting. Always has interesting, compelling lighting. And here he is leaving the company of Frankenstein, basically giving him his deal. I saw him descend the mountain with greater speed than the flight of an eagle. But basically, he's demanding that Frankenstein create for him a partner. Because he doesn't want to be alone. Man, look at just the physicality of that. It's so dynamic. Here's his buddy kind of traveling with him by river. They had agreed to descend the Rhine in a boat from Strasbourg to Rotterdam. Yeah, just gorgeous, like cross-hatching in here. This is where like I get a lot of or try to get influence from, is how he handles that stuff. Just to make a drawing just so much more visually arresting and interesting. Yeah, and going against the grain in different and interesting, exciting ways. Oh, man. You don't need color to be vibrant and dynamic. Another great room full of shit. Look at all this stuff. Studying, creating. I only visited these people for the sake of the information they might give me. Set out on a dark purpose, creating the partner of the creature. Here's another great one. It was indeed a filthy process in which I was engaged. So look at him, he's working on examining the corpse of this lady who's like real skeletal. Look at all these beakers and jars and everything, the instruments, the shit on the floor, this great lighting here. He is not happy. Man. There's no end to what you can see in his work. Now here's the one here, folks. I shall be with you on your wedding night. I have a large artist edition of this on my wall. And this is, an incredible piece. Like, look at how monstrous he is. But then just look at all this stuff in here. The corpse. Like a machete for chopping her up, man. Like half like a pair of scissors. Like sundry smoke coming through. And even like cobwebs and cobblestones. Like this is this is probably the peak of all of them. And yet every single one is a masterpiece in and of itself. Every single piece. Wow. There he is sailing off because he's refusing to finish the bride, which is one of those things that I feel like Bride of Frankenstein explores in a great way. Is that what would happen if he went forward with it and get the bride. But just look at these contrasting planes. Like it's tumultuous just like he is. I took advantage of the moment of darkness and cast my basket into the sea. He's getting away. He's gonna escape this thing. He's gonna deny it. And he sees his best friend is dead. The first of many problems. Look at this awesome, like, light. I don't know what it is, but I just love these creatures gripping on it, climbing it. But yeah, he's seeing the fruits of his mistake. I gotta say, all of these are such great choices, because it does really add to the reading experience, and like just these chosen visualizations, and you can, because these are so strong, you can imagine the whole everything in this form. It really does do a lot for this. 1,000 feelings pressed upon me, I wept bitterly. Yeah, he's heading home, but you know what's going to happen once he gets there. Just these great lines coming down through that black. Not a weak image in one of them. And about a week after the arrival of Elizabeth's letter, we returned to Geneva. So yeah, he's heading back to get married, folks. Love is in the air. Look at these. Look at all these white stones breaking it up along these birch trees too. Beautiful. This is a beautiful little scene, you know. And again, god damn that grass. And this is their wedding night. So there's like a scene where like the creature's like leering in at her at the window, and like he could have shown that. He could have shown her getting killed and stuff, but instead he showed the aftermath because it's just so dark and emotional. She was there, lifeless and inanimate, thrown across the bed. Yeah. But goddamn, look at that little design there to show the opulence of the room. It's all you need, and everything else is just so dark, and like the mood of it. The little trail of blood in her mouth. Man. So now he's gotta get revenge even more, because not only did he kill his brother, he killed his wife on their wedding night. And he's out trying to find him, but he gets exhausted. And look at that sun. Look at this swirling smoke, swirling fire. Great passage of light here. And he's so asleep, he's almost like being enveloped by the plant matter down there. It's such a great image. So desperate and yet so powerless. I fell at last in a state of utter exhaustion. There he is, sled dogs and such, in pursuit of the creature, into the wilderness, into the frozen wounds. I continued with unabated fervor to traverse the immense deserts until the ocean appeared. The frozen deserts, by the way. You've seen the lines. You know the lines. They're gorgeous. And here he is at the tail end of his tale, with the captain, saying, presently he called me in a feeble voice, and basically he's dying. He's failed, and it's all this cautionary tale about don't, he tampered in God's domain. As Edward D. Wood Jr. Would say. But I feel like that's not the lesson. The lesson is, if you're going to create life, don't be a dick. But still in a gorgeous image. There's another amazing image of the creature. This one I have on my wall. Just such sadness. He's at the end of his rope too. Polluted by crimes and torn by the bitterest remorse, where can I find rest but in death? Yeah, he's He's done, man. He is done, and that's the sad. That's the tragedy of it is that like he just you know he wanted to be he wanted to experience and be the best that humanity can be, but instead he, because of loneliness and rejection, he became the worst. Dan, this is a step back. Out in the frozen wastes, we have, just this is. I love that there's no figural element here. It's just the landscape, and just these conflicting lines going back and forth. We are still surrounded by mountains of ice, and that's what a great phrase to focus the image on. And yeah, this looks impassable, and that's the whole point of the image, is just to show you how impassable it is, because you could hear that phrase and imagine it so many different ways, but here he's like, no, it is, these are mountains of ice. This is like, you cannot get through here. This is not just oh, the ice will crack and we can float through. No, there's no way through. Here we come to our bitter end as the ship leaves the creature behind, along with Frankenstein's body, which, that's at least the book, at least. And, these horrible crashing waves, the block of ice he's left on, and the sadness left behind. He's in a bit of a similar garb as he is in, say, Son of Frankenstein, the Universal movie, that kind of like fur vest thing. Maybe a little bit of influence there, but man, what a sad image. It's just a powerful one to go out on. Absolutely amazing, gut-wrenching, and amazing. So that is Frankenstein, brought to you by Bernie Wrightson. This is a modern day copy of this illustrated edition. You can find this online or in a bookstore, preferably in a bookstore. So support local bookstores, please. There is an older edition that's a bit bigger, larger in size, and I that's also a little more expensive to come by. If I could get my hands on one, I'd love to. But this is it's really gorgeous, really, and I recommend that if you just want a beautiful copy of Frankenstein to read this Halloween season or any time of the year, look for this one. Yeah, as the art of Bernie Wrightson needs to be seen and appreciated and loved, because it is so deserving of it. And so thank you for joining me on exploring this gorgeous work. And long live Frankenstein, long live Mary Shelley, and long live Bernie Wrightson.